Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. It is really fantastic that y'all are here. Good morning, Maya. Good morning, Anita. Good morning, Lauren and Janet. It is wonderful to see you guys here today. My chat widget is busted up or broken on my side, so I cannot see the chat history. So if some other folks are here, I want to say good morning to you also, but I can only see the ones that are on the screen right now. Anyways, good morning, Tony. Nice to see you. Yeah, so we're here today. Happy Tuesday to you. We're here today to say some good stuff about us and to really reaffirm all of the amazing things that are happening in our lives. Thank you for sharing the broadcast, Tony. You are amazing. Anyways, yeah, uh, we're going to do the same thing that we do every day. Go pull a card off the top of the deck. I'm going to ask you if you are the affirmation on the card, and we are going to respond out loud together. I am that affirmation. As we put these two very powerful words together, we are bringing into our present reality these new sentiments, these new ideas, these ideas that perhaps while we believe them about ourselves, cerebrally, we believe these things about ourselves in our minds. Oftentimes, when life comes to get to upset us, that we that sometimes we forget this truth about ourselves, and so consequently, we are here to really to give ourselves that additional ammunition. Because let's face it, life does not always go the way we think it should. And I am just as prone to being frustrated or angry or annoyed or irritated as everybody else. And so when something like that comes to disturb my peace, these affirmations help me to really understand what's true and what's right, and to reach for the best thought, to reach for the mindset that is empowering, the mindset that sets me up for success in the future. I don't know about you, but I've had plenty of times in life where I said something rash, where I said something to somebody that I could not take back, or where I was, needlessly cruel or something of that nature. Absolutely has happened in my life. And as I'm as I look back at the times when that's happened, it's always been because of some latent insecurity that, was being touched on by the people that I was talking to, or something of that nature. Something that was really all about me and not about them. And yet the words that escaped my mouth were not very empowering to them. And, the words of blame or shame or guilt, passive aggressiveness, things like that. And the fact is that as I really embody these words, as I pull these cards every morning, and as I affirm these things about myself, that my first reaction, which is sometimes not a very kind one, is very often supplanted by a second reaction, which is a reaction that is more of a response than a reaction. So let's have some fun today. Pull a card off the top of the deck and give ourselves some more ammunition for when life doesn't go the way we think it should. So let's do that and say that today I am thriving. I am thriving. I flourish and grow in my environment. So I am thriving. I flourish and grow in my environment. Are you thriving? You are thriving. You flourish and grow in your environment. And indeed, we both do. All of us do. We are thriving people. As Jan says, to focus not on survival but on thrival. I'm gonna write that down in the comments. I encourage you to do the same thing. I'm writing down that I am thriving and that I flourish and grow in my environment. Well, what does it mean to flourish and grow in our environment? Well, if you've ever grown plants before, you know that plants are happy in some places and not quite as happy in other places. And so, as we, as whenever we plant a garden, it's important for us to think about, what is the ideal environment for these plants to grow in. And in the end, when we take care, when we are when we are knowledgeable, when we are intentional about where we put a plant, then we give that plant the optimal conditions to thrive. Well, so it is in our lives as well. We are thriving because we intentionally put ourselves into places where we are capable of thriving. So there's only a couple of newsletters that I subscribe to, One of them, of course, is the Valley newsletter, but another one is called Farnham Street. It's by Shane Parrish. He's a person who writes about thinking. And one of the takeaways that I've gotten from a recent newsletter of his is that there are certain decisions that have an outsized effect on our ultimate success. And they're not the decisions that we really think about often. They're many times they're decisions that we don't really think about, and yet the ones that we don't think about, the subconscious ones, or the ones that we don't think matter all that much, have an incredibly have an outsized impact on our success. And so one of the things that he talked about was the decision about exactly where to live. And so he was saying that if you want to make it in Hollywood, you best go to Hollywood. If you want to have a career in film or television, we'll go to Hollywood, or go to Atlanta, or go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they film a lot of films. You have to set yourself up for success by going in the places where the people are doing the things. If you want to have a successful startup, if you want to join that kind of a hustle, well, then go to Silicon Valley. You can't do a startup if you're living in the middle of Kansas or something like that. It's just the access to the right people are not there. You're not going to run into the right people who are going to help you with your dream or your goal. And so it is with us. Once we know what we are capable of, and we recognize where we are going in life, then we need to make sure that we put ourselves into the right environment. And the very first right environment starts right here. It starts inside of our heads. That is the most fertile environment for any of our ideas to bloom and grow. And these words that we affirm every morning at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, these words help us to set our mindset up for success. So I am thriving today, and you are thriving too. And let's just really recognize that. Let's recognize that we are flourishing, that we are growing, that our environment is getting better and better, and that today we set ourselves up for success. That today we make sure that wherever it is that we are, that we are doing what is best for us. I am thriving today, and you are thriving too. And so when we realize that we have transcended that survival mentality and we are now living in a thrival mentality, it helps us to make sure that we have great compassion for the people who are around us, the people who have not yet gotten to that thriving stage. I remember that there have been plenty of times in my life when I was not thriving at all. I mean, I recall when I lived on Maui, there was a time in my life there where I was essentially homeless, and where I was buying food with change that, basically quarters and nickels and dimes at the farmer's market, and trying to find the bruised tomatoes so that I could make a deal on them. I remember that. I remember that I didn't feel like I was thriving at all. I felt like I was living in paradise, and yet at the same time, I couldn't afford the most basic of basics. And when that was happening, there were some changes that I need to make. And the primary reason that I went that I went to a place where I wasn't thriving is because I was unwilling to look at myself. I was unwilling to make those changes. I was unwilling to recognize that I had made some mistakes, and it was time to correct those mistakes. And when I did realize that, when I did make those necessary changes, I went right back to thriving. And so in the end, my survival versus thrival was entirely the product of my own choices. And I was able to make different choices and set myself up for a little bit more success, a little bit more success, a little bit more success. So you are thriving today, and I am thriving too, and we flourish and grow in our environment. And so let's make sure that our environment is conducive to what we are interested in achieving. Let's make sure that we're surrounded by the right people, the right places, the right opportunities, the right resources in order to do the things that matter most to us. Because as we do that, we come to realize that we don't ever accomplish anything alone. That when we accomplish cool stuff, it's because of the people around us. It is because of the encouragement that they give us. It's because of the resources that they have that they are willing to share. It's because of the connections that they have that they're willing to just let us be connected with as well. I am thriving, and you are thriving too. And we grow and we flourish in our environment. I love the coleus that are on this card. I'm a huge fan of coleus. They're such a cool plant, and just if you ever take a look at one up close, just really beautiful, beautiful patterns on the leaves. And every time that I see them, I'm just reminded, these plants. Well, they don't necessarily create all kinds of beautiful flowers. The leaves themselves are gorgeous, and whenever I see that they are flourishing and growing, it brings me a smile. So I am thriving today. You are thriving too. And as we thrive, let us remember that there are people around us who are not. And let's be compassionate with these people. And if we have the ability to help those people thrive, let's help them thrive. If we have the ability to share a resource with them that we have an abundance of, let's do that. And if we have the ability to share a piece of advice with them or a life perspective with them that's going to help them, let's do that. Ultimately, a rising tide lifts all ships, and so let's be that rising tide in life. Let's be that force that elevates the people around us, that causes the people around us to recognize and tap into their own networks to make the right decisions in order to really achieve their own dreams, because life is not life is not a solo sport. Life is a team sport, and as we go through it, we have the wonderful ability to make the lives of the people around us better. I am thriving, you are thriving, and we flourish and grow in our environment. My beautiful friends, I want to say thank you guys so much for attending the wake up call today. I will return tomorrow at 9 a.m. with another one of these messages, and hopefully with an active chat so I can actually engage with you guys. But I do want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining the call and for being committed to having a better life for yourself and a better life for the people around you. Being committed to really coming to an understanding that we don't need to believe the first thought that we think just because we think it doesn't make it true, and that we can very intentionally choose the thoughts that we think, that we can very easily choose the things that we sift as being true. And whenever we have an empowering thought, whenever we have a thought that builds us up or builds somebody else up around us, that is a good one to have, and that we can have more of those, and that as we have more of those, that we are ultimately continuing to set up our environment in a way that is good. All right, my beautiful friends, I will talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, this is your daily reminder that I love you and that I appreciate you, that I think that you are amazing, and that I'm excited to continue growing and developing, learning and growing and thriving with you. So I'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, aloha from paradise.